into hardware-based systems, often utilizing platforms like DSP and FPGA boards. I welcome Sawant sir on behalf of all participants. Sawant sir, it's over to you. Thank you.
Hello everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, sir.
So my voice is all clear.
Good
No
afternoon.
problem.
Yes, sir.
Mic testing is okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it's audible.
So today we'll start my presentation, and I'm sharing my screen here. So my screen is visible to you all.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
I'm asking. Okay. So friends, today just a minute. So the today's topic is copyright and plagiarism. And for people who are researching, this is the most relevant topic today. Perhaps this time 3 o'clock may not be comfortable to many of us, but still this is a official time. So I have planned not to just deliver a lecture, but I'll also demonstrate a software, plagiarism check software. And in addition to that, I am also giving you some exercise. So friends, unfortunately today my voice is not good because of some throat infection. However, because this is not my natural voice. However, I'll try my best to reach you with my modified voice. So, and if there is any doubt on any topic, please interrupt me and let me know. We'll try to resolve the issue if there is any, or if you have any difficulty, we'll discuss the matter. So, this topic, copyright and plagiarism. So, perhaps this plagiarism word is uh, is actually a very new word which is being introduced in the Indian context. The copyright, we have been listening to the word copyright since many days, and copyright and plagiarism, they are interconnected but not the same. So copyright infringement is a part of plagiarism. Okay. So we'll discuss that in detail. But why these topics are important today? Okay, let us understand why these topics are important today. So I'll let you know. I'll just give you one context today. So we have. So this is one website which I received, which I got for researching on plagiarism. So 5 famous plagiarism cases in India you must know about. Okay, this is a news item basically. And see here, you can read out few things. You can read out these things later also. But I'll try to explain you the context here. So the context is like this. There is always a tendency to avoid plagiarism. Okay. When a person is habituated with this, it becomes a necessity. So that means a person can become addict also to the plagiarism. If you are successful in the plagiarism, once you are successful, then you become addict. Okay, and you go on doing the mistakes. Plagiarism is a mistake. So you go on doing repeating the mistakes, and a stage comes when you are caught up. Okay, or you got caught. So when was the plagiarism performance rate highest? So it has been result. It has been said that as a result, in the period between 2007 and 2011, there was the highest plagiarism performance rate in India. This is an Indian context. This is the Indian website. So this rate was very high. It has been found in the academic circle in India. As a result, in 2015, the University Grants Commission has been declared mandatory in India to check a PhD thesis with anti-plagiarism software. Okay. On 26th June of 2016, India's government has decided to bring a law to register this activity. So, see here, this plagiarism. The question is whether the plagiarism was there in India or in the academic circle in the last few years. Yes, it was there, but it has brought to the notice of the academic regulators that now the plagiarism rate is very high. Okay, and you have to do something else. So what regulator have done, they have started some awareness campaign or some plagiarism check software, making the colleges needs to purchase those softwares and make them mandatory, make their use mandatory. Okay, so these all have been started from 2016. Okay, in India. The punishments are different as per the pattern of plagiarism, and the performer of the activity, the means the punishments are different as per the patterns of plagiarism, and that will see from my presentation later. But just try to understand the context here. So, 5 famous plagiarism cases in India. Here it is written. So there are few cases which have been identified. So here, chemistry professor accused of plagiarism, more than 70 articles. So this was the case which was essentially in the scientific world. A chemistry professor was accused of plagiarizing more than 70 articles. So this has been unveiled in 2000. It was also because it was a continuous process. Nobody caught up, and so it has been enhanced by the by the person. Okay, so this you can get from this source. Okay, which whatever source is there. Then Karvya Vishwanathan was accused of plagiarism for her debut. Okay, debut novel. So novels are also plagiarized. Try to understand. These are very important issues. It's not like only papers are plagiarized, but whatever scientific literature or whatever academic literature is being published, the published literature is being plagiarized. So there are some cases like Stanford University wrote to late President APJ Abdul Kalam about Professor Rajput's plagiarism. This was in year 2002. Okay, so this was late President Abdul Kalam, APJ Abdul Kalam received a letter from Stanford University, etc., etc. So all these cases you can study, and you can find out that how the plagiarism is serious. Now coming back to my presentation, uh, probably this might have formed a context to you. So my actual presentation starts from here. So what we are going to discuss today, what is the meaning of plagiarism? What is the scientific meaning of plagiarism? And how we are concerned about plagiarism. Plagiarism forms and types. So what type of plagiarism people notice or people do? Then we'll also are talking about software tools. Okay, what are the different software tools? Which one is better? Which one is means the comparative analysis. Turn it in software demo. So we at SPIT and both SPC and SPIT we have subscribed for turn it in plagiarism software which is available online. Okay, this is a cloud-based plagiarism tool. Okay, so here what we have to do, we have to log in the Turnitin software, and we can upload the paper in that software and get the plagiarism checked. Okay, and this is widely accepted. Now we'll talk about this Turnitin later, but today I have planned in this schedule only to demonstrate you one or two plagiarism article which are plagiarized. Okay, or how to check for the plagiarism, and later on how to mitigate the plagiarism if you find in advance. Okay, advance of publication, if you find that my student have plagiarized something and his article is where my name is also being credited, and this will be going to a publication. So before it goes to the publication, it is better if it is passed through a plagiarism check software, and then we can rewrite the same article and remove the plagiarism and publish it a national or international platform. So we'll be also looking at that demonstration. And in addition to that, I have also planned to give you an assignment. Okay, but this assignment need not be completed today itself. But this will be done on a Turnitin platform. You will have to become a member of that Turnitin. You have to take an account from the college, because college can give you an account because it's a campus license. So you can get an account from the college. And if once you get that license or once you get that login ID registered, then you can complete this assignment. The nature of the assignment is already given to me by Professor GT Altar. He is your colleague. So what is the meaning of plagiarism? What is the scientific meaning of plagiarism? Plagiarism is basically a fabrication and falsification. Okay, and it is also an act, okay, of research misconduct. That is very important. So what we are doing through plagiarism is basically, in very small and short word, it is basically copying down somebody's text. Okay, yeah, let's say I want to and take a credit out of it. So we are publishing the paper on my name, let's say, but what I am doing while constructing the paper, while forming the paper, what I am doing, a portion of the paper would consist of somebody else's work, okay, without giving due credit to that person, right? So this is an act of plagiarism. If that publisher finds that this paper is plagiarized, he will return you back, or he will, if the matter is very serious, the publishing authority would actually can file the case also, or the publishing authority and the person whom you copied down. Okay, so these are all things which are essential to understand. But plagiarism is more than the copy. Okay, so it has got some scientific meaning to this. So what is it? So internationally, this has been recognized that the plagiarism is basically fabrication, falsification, okay, and it is an act of research misconduct. Okay, and United States federal guidelines, which have been accepted as it is by our UGC, and universally characterized as the most basic acts of misconduct. So in the academic world, it is the most basic act of misconduct. So act of misconduct is basically the matter of concern. So plagiarism is clearly a representative act of research misconduct. Okay. So plagiarism may consist of self plagiarism, okay, and duplicate publication. So plagiarism is clearly a representative act of research misconduct, while self-plagiarism and duplicate publication are not usually included in the act of research misconduct. So, for example, if I am doing a research and in my research, I have done one publication which is original publication without plagiarism. Okay, and then subsequently for the next 1 or 2 years, what I am doing, I am repeating the same thing. Okay, the same research. I am repeating it, putting it in a different word, and putting it, changing the titles. Okay, changing the abstract, rewriting the abstract, but the work remains the same. The experimental work or the theoretical work, the ideas, on all these things would remain the same, and this, you know, actually, I am, let's say, planning to put 3-4 publication in 3-4 different journals, because because in order to increase my journal or publication count, I have to complete my PhD fast. Okay, so this would be called as, if I could do publication, this is called as a self plagiarism. And in the real world, this self plagiarism or the duplicate publication may not be called as a plagiarism. Okay, because many a time this plagiarism check software, sometimes they, if you tell them that don't exclude this particular author, okay, or exclude this particular publication, so they will exclude it and give you a plagiarism check results. Okay, so but internationally, okay, internationally this type of plagiarism is also called as a plagiarism. The self plagiarism is also called as plagiarism. Okay, and morally also it is not correct to go on publishing several times the same work. Okay, this is also this is also bring down your standard of academic excellence. Okay, in a true sense, plagiarism is defined as the act of claiming the words or ideas of another person on your own. Okay, that means this is an act of claiming the words or ideas of another person as your own. So what are you doing? You are copying down somebody's text, somebody's ideas, you know, and you are taking them and you are, publishing as if, you are the master. Okay, as if, because you are taking ownership of that particular publication. So as your own, you are saying that I have written down this particular text, or I have completed this work, but it is somebody else's work. So if it is found by some publishers, okay, this is very dangerous, and these people will sue the concerned person. So, what is the effect of plagiarism? So, basically, this plagiarism will distort the truth. Okay, deliver inaccurate information to other researcher. So what happens? What is the purpose of your publication? The purpose of your publication is, to use the same publication published by you in other research. Okay, so people will cite your paper as a reference. reference material. Okay. So this for some of the people, some of the researcher may inspire by you from your work, or sometimes they may also start their research work beginning from your work. Okay. Maybe your future scope will be their work. You know? So sometimes it may so happen, right? But if you know you are doing some plagiarism or misconduct, okay, this is an act of misconduct. Okay, by copying down somebody else's text, somebody else's data, somebody else's experiment. Okay, so that means the credit would be given to you, but it is not your actual work. Okay, so this is morally not correct. Ethically, it is not correct. Okay, and if it is being found by the world, then you will be caught up and you will be punished accordingly. So plagiarism does not distort the data, but instead overstates the researcher's accomplishment by using the stolen work of others. So a person who is doing plagiarism, it does not distort the data. So it will keep the data as it is. Okay, it will not distort the data. Okay, overstates the research accomplishment. So what it is doing, what the person would say that this particular XYZ work experiment has been carried out, and it will overstate, okay, some of the research work which has been done by others, and it's a stolen work, right? Finally, it's a stolen work. So this is the best example of fabrication of data, right? So in this is called as an act of fabrication. Fabrication means we are trying to take the data and you are arranging the data in your publication. But it is somebody else's experimental data without giving due credit. So if you are giving credit to that person, you are taking a proper permissions, then it is legal. But if you are not taking any permission from the original work or the original author, original person, and or else you are also not giving credit to that person, right? Or that publication, but you are simply copying down the data, okay, and stating that this is your own experimental data. Okay, so this is called as an act of fabrication of the data. Okay, you are fabricating the data. So here this is some example. Here in this example, uh, in the following case of inserting arbitrary numbers despite the absence of measurement of the 1 hour and 3 hour points, okay, in time is an example of fabrication of data. Say for example, left hand side, you look at the left hand side, this is the original data. In this data, let's say there is an experiment. So the first data set is #1 and the second data set is #2. Okay, here you are carrying out the experiment for 1 hour and you are getting the results, and you are carrying out the experiment for 3 hours and you are getting the results, and you are averaging out, and there is a third experiment which is to be carried out for 5 hours and you are getting the data. So here in this case, in the original data itself, the measurements for 1 hour and 3 hour, these measurements were not possible practically, and so those measurements were not done. Okay, so the original work say that, original data say that these cases were not handled 1 hour 3 hour. However, they could do 5 hour measurement, 17 and 20. Now the person who is fabricating this data, okay, is also for mentioning that he got a reading of 4 for 1 hour, for reading of 10 for 3 hours. Okay, and then for the second case, he's taking the reading for 6 and 11. Now, where from this information has come, he will not mention in his publication. Okay, but see here, he has just copied down the 5-hour measurements, which were the 5-hour measurements were 17 and 20 readings. Okay, so that means this is called as a fabrication of data. So without carrying out any experiment, the person has, you know, fabricated the data as 4 and 10 here, or 6 and 11 here. Okay, so this is called as a fabrication of data, changing the data from the original data set. So what are the other examples of data fabrication? The other examples of data fabrication are not measuring the control group and just assigning arbitrary numbers to the control group after the experiment, entering similar numbers to retain statistical significance, and using data or images from other past research, their own work or of others, and presenting them as newly discovered data. So this is called as a fabrication of the data. Then falsification of data. Okay, falsification means they falsely you're creating a data set. Okay, they, for example, people nowadays use artificial intelligence, machine learning or AI ML tool, you know, to create a data set of images. So it will go on creating so many hundreds, thousands of images for carrying out research in image processing. This has been also happened several times. So, so that is called as the falsification of data. That means the original data was not there. It has been recreated several times. Okay. So this data has not come from the experiment, real experiment. Okay. So this is a false data, right? So that's, and if you are using this data in your publication, then it comes to the classification of plagiarism, an act of plagiarism. So this is an example of falsification of data. So in this case, the same example if you take here. So in the original data set, so interestingly, they found that for a case number 1, and the 1 hour reading has come out to be 5, and 3 hour reading has come out to be 3, okay, and 5 hour reading has come out to be 70. Whereas in the case number 2, 1 hour reading has turned out to be 7, 3 hour reading has turned out to be 2, and 5 hour reading has turned out to be 20. Okay. Now there is a falsification of data case. But there is a plagiarism. On to right hand side. See here how the data is published. Here they have falsely, written down, change the table for 3 hours. They have kept both 1 hour and 5 hour reading the same, but they have changed the data for 3 hours. Okay, right? So here, here in the previous case, if you just look at this case, previous case, fabrication of data. Here in this case, what has happened? Your original data set, doesn't consist of any information about 1 hour and 3 hour reading. Okay, and you have fabricated this newly, okay, in 1 hour and 3 hours, right? So this information was not originally available, but this information has been newly introduced or fabricated by the publisher. Okay, so this is called as a fabrication of data. But falsification of data means what? The original data set was readily available, okay, and you are changing some numbers here. So this is called as a falsification of data. So this type of this form of publication is called as a fabrication and falsification. So dictionaries define plagiarism as copying words or ideas of another person and presenting them as one's original work. So this is the dictionary meaning of plagiarism. Okay? And plagiarism includes the two acts. Okay, taking the work of another person and adding onto one's work. Okay, deceiving the public by presenting these results, okay, as if they are one's own independent work. So this particular act can be, elaborated something like this. So I want to now do some research publication, for example, and let's say I am trying out, not getting the results. Okay. Then uh, one day I'm deciding that, deciding that array, the time is passing out and I may not be able to, reach to the publication level. So what I'll do, I'll write some ideas. Okay. I'll create some data and I'll copy down data from somewhere. Okay. And I'll prepare my publication. Right. So this is the first mistake which you have done here. Number one. Number two, now you have not only made the paper ready, okay, to show your supervisor or guide, okay, but now you want to publish it, okay, and if you are publishing it, the credit given to you. So that means you want to take a credential, right? So that means you are actually cheating to the world, okay, saying that this is my original work, but this is somebody else's work, okay. So this is what is happening in the plagiarism. In the sometimes the plagiarism may be unintentional also, or accidental plagiarism is still considered to be plagiarism. Okay. How do I say? I would say something like this. Say, for example, I am doing some work in the image processing, and in this work, I find that some data set needs to be, analyzed and putting it to some machine learning algorithm, and my algorithm is ready. Okay. Now I am putting the data set. Okay, and uh, then now this algorithm has been suggested by someone else, so who has already published his or own work, right? So now, uh, for example, there is one aspect of it, or there is one, let's say, one algorithm which which has been, emerged from your side only. Okay, from your side only, but it has been also suggested by others. Okay, the idea which you are thinking that it's a new idea. Okay, and then you are trying to publish it. Okay, without carrying out comprehensive literature survey. Okay, had you been doing this, you could have found that this particular same idea has also been, you know published by someone else already, right? But that you are neglecting it, or that means you are not doing proper literature survey, and you are publishing this particular idea which you are claiming that it's a new idea. Okay, so this type of plagiarism is sometimes called as a it's sometimes called as a unintentional or accidental plagiarism. Okay, but the not looking at the literature work, or not looking at the relevant publications, okay, or the prominent publications while carrying out research work is also your fault. Okay, so that's why this particular act of plagiarism is called as a plagiarism. Okay? So unintentional and accidental copying work, or copying of ideas, is also called as a plagiarism. So here, for example, often the example is given to you. Often students who have poor writing ability and who do not know proper citation practices, okay, which are, used in plagiarism. So even scholars who have experience with writing papers make the mistake of incorporating information or idea they gained from others sources, and failing to properly acknowledge the original sources of their writing, whether unintentional or accidental. Such cases cannot avoid being labeled as plagiarism. Say, for example, my student has come up with some publication, let's say BTech student, and he has taken some figure from somewhere, but he is saying that, sir, because I have not seen the literature survey. So he said that, sir, here, this is the figure, this is what the things are, this is the block diagram, and he's suggesting something, right? So when it comes to me, okay, the responsibility also goes to the supervisor. He has to also look at what literature survey is being, you know, being carried out, whether it is being carried out properly or not. Okay, whether this has been discussed somewhere, at least in the prominent journal, this matter should not be there, right? The figures should not be copied from other journals, like cut paste, copy and paste should not be done. So if, let's say, a student have done that work and they have pasted some figures, so this is also a kind of act of plagiarism, but maybe unintentional plagiarism. Okay, so maybe the student may not have an intention to, but to, he's a lethargic person. He wants to avoid that work, and but if you are copying down and putting some figures, you have to do due credit to that person or that particular publication. Okay, so you can say courtesy something something some publication. You can write down in the caption of that particular figure, right? So copyright infringement is also a form of plagiarism. Copyright infringement. So this is basically little different aspect, but this is the action after the plagiarism. So if you find that the plagiarism is being detected, okay, and someone else is raising the voice, and somebody else is appealing against you, that you have done plagiarism, okay, then in that case context, people will also see whether there is a copyright infringement or not. So there are some laws. So these are all technical words, but there are some international laws, and those international laws are also accepted by our Indian government as it is. Okay, many laws are being accepted by the Indian government as it is from the international platform. Okay, and these platforms have have certain rules and regulations. If you don't fit into your rules and regulation, somebody can do so somebody else can sue you and appeal against you, the work which has been carried out. So copyright infringement is basically there is a law which prohibits, which will which will tell you that you should not copy down from somewhere else, uh, and even if you are signing a copyright document, because every publisher, try to understand, every publisher will, before your work is, say, let's say your work is accepted and it is about to be published, then the publisher will let you sign on a copyright document. Okay, and you have signed on those documents. Okay, there are some laws, so those laws and regulations are written on those copyright document. You have signed on this. That means you are allowing the publisher to publish the work, and later on, after publishing this work, later on somebody raise the questions on the original work and its integrity, then those people will be empowered. Okay, those people, persons will be empowered to use these laws, copyright laws, okay, and infringe you in this matter. Okay, so and will prove that you have done some infringement. Okay, that means you have violated these copyright laws. Okay, so this plagiarism, the copyright infringement also comes under plagiarism. Okay, it is one form of, means basically these are the actions, and these are the rule based actions on you, okay, are called as a copyright infringement. So case of copyright infringement without plagiarism. So sometimes it is also possible that you are uh, infringing the copyrights without plagiarism. So this is a case, right? Reusing and citing images from work of others may not be considered plagiarism when the researcher provides appropriate citations. So if you are citing appropriately at certain place about the images, okay, and certain data, okay, then it's okay. When the researcher provides appropriate citations, then these are considered. However, the researcher must receive permission to use the illustrative material from the publisher who possesses the copyright to the paper, image, or book. So, the researcher must receive permission. Okay, you will have to write to the person, because you can, from the publisher itself, you can find out the author's email or contact address. You can write to them that this work needs to be cited in my publication because it forms a basis for my work, and so give us a permission. So you will have to write down the email to that person, and certainly in most cases you will get a reply. And if you get appropriate permission, maybe from email or maybe in a written form, okay, you must do it, right? And the most easiest way, okay, to avoid the plagiarism from some images and something, some small data, something, so is it would be to cite the publication, right? So what is idea plagiarism? So in the idea plagiarism, you are actually taking the idea from others. Okay. The people have already discussed these ideas, and you are also taking up the same idea, copying down the ideas and doing your research work. So this is also called as idea based plagiarism. Okay, and this results, this is without giving a credit, in the form of idea plagiarism. So for example, there are for certain research there are 5 methods. Okay, for certain solving some problem, there are 5 methods which were already discussed in the literature, right? And the 5 methods or ideas will be already comprehensively discussed there itself, right? And when you are writing down your thesis or a research, you are, let's say, catching up one of the idea from out of five. You are catching up one of the idea, okay, and publishing it without giving credit to that person. So at least you should say that this my work is an extension of your work. I am using your method or your idea, okay, for evaluating my data set or my experiments. And uh, so if you are taking a permission, okay, or if you are citing appropriately, so you are relieved from plagiarism. But without giving credit to that person, that idea, and you are writing down, okay, then it is definitely an act of idea plagiarism. A more serious form of idea plagiarism is the act of taking the hypothesis or the main idea from the work of another person, okay, and presenting the paper as if he or she is the first person to come up with it, okay. So that means somebody else has already published this idea, and you are claiming that this is your original idea, okay. So this is a very serious matter, and so this is called as an idea plagiarism. Now the text plagiarism is very common, right? Copying text is very common. So it has been highlighted here in the presentation itself, in the slide, on the slide itself. See here, this particular sorry, this particular line, these lines, you know you will find that the lines which are highlighted, okay, they are all copied down as it is, okay, and so this is called as act of text plagiarism, okay. So how to deal with text plagiarism? So this is given interestingly being explained in the manual for research publication ethics in science and engineering, and the author's name is given. You can find from the internet that this particular, uh, you know, uh, so duplication of the text as it is, right, is called as a text plagiarism. Then another is inappropriate paraphrasing and summarizing. Okay, this also comes under text plagiarism. So what does it mean? It means that you have, let's say, you have copied down this particular text. You have copied down this text, right? As it is abstract. You have started from introduction, etc., etc. Okay, and word to word typo. So it is word to word copy, right? Word to word copy. So this is called as a text plagiarism. If you are writing down in your own words, it is called as paraphrasing in English. Okay. That means what I am doing, let's say the same paragraph, instead of writing down as it is, copying from others, I'll write in my own words. Okay. So this is called as a paraphrasing. Because I have to, and also if you are giving due credit to that person where from this text is written, right? And it is being paraphrased, right? So you have to give due credit to that particular reference, right? And inappropriate paraphrasing is also called as a plagiarism. Okay, that means what are you doing? Uh, so introducing the work of another person. Okay, a writer must make use of paraphrasing. So if you want to introduce somebody else's work, okay, and explain it in your literature, then you have to reword and paraphrase, okay, in your own words, but it should be appropriate. Your word should be appropriate, and there is a whole science and technique for paraphrasing. It's not like anybody can paraphrase the work of others. So while paraphrasing, the meaning should not be changed. The original meaning should be retained. Then only it is called as a appropriate paraphrasing. Otherwise, it is called as a inappropriate paraphrasing. Right. So changing the words and structure while maintaining the meaning, okay, is called as a paraphrasing. Okay, you have to maintain the meaning. You have to change the words, structure, whatever structure has been, taken by the used by the original work, and summarizing. So you have to summarize also. So the whole idea, which has been explained in about 5 pages or 10 pages, you are explaining that this idea has been suggested by so and so person, and in summary, this idea is like this. Okay, so you have to properly summarize. And how to summarize it? It is also an act of scientific, writing skills, right? So this is so that the another person's idea is introduced without copying it word for word. So you don't copy verbatim, word for word. Okay. Appropriate citations to the idea are still required in the pertinent section. So you have to appropriately cite the references. Okay. If you are taking down something, but word to word don't write, because this is a severe act of plagiarism. Okay, but you are appropriately paraphrasing somebody else's work and summarizing it, okay, in a in a short sentences. Okay, but the sentences should be appropriate. Okay, then it is not the act of plagiarism. So this is interestingly, this is also called as a text plagiarism. So for example, here in this particular, there are three particular, you know, mm, uh, the paragraphs. The first paragraph is the original work. Okay. The second paragraph is the example of inappropriate paraphrasing. And the third paragraph will give you an example of appropriate paraphrasing. Okay. So what has happened in the first, because see, you have to read it carefully. You have to read the original work carefully. Then only you can paraphrase it properly, right? Or appropriately. So this is just an act of, this is just an example of act of plagiarism, okay, through text plagiarism, right? And how to learn the skill set of paraphrasing, right? Because it is a frequent phenomena. Because if you are writing down 5-10 pages, but your idea spans for only one, fits into only 1 or 2 pages, okay. So you will have to also, write about others' work. Okay, you cannot avoid that. So what other people have done, you will have to write it down, but you have to write down in your own words. So that's why you have to learn how to paraphrase the work done, how to summarize the work done by others, work completed by others, and work published by others. Okay. So here it is written, writer is naturally bound to introduce the results or arguments of another person's work while writing the introduction of the paper. So you, if you are writing down your own introduction of your own paper, then you have to, there is no solution to this, right? You cannot create, your own words to describe your idea. You have to tell what other people are doing. So how do you describe that? So you have to study their papers properly. Then you have to learn how to paraphrase the sentences. Okay. And how to put the sentences without changing the meaning of the original work, how to paraphrase them appropriately. Okay. You must learn the skill set for this. So this is another point, inappropriate passage citation. A writer may think that there is no problem with taking an entire passage of text from another person's work, word by word. Okay. The writer may think that this is, I am copying down from others word by word. And if credit is given at the end, so because I'm giving credit, so I can give you word by word. However, in most cases, such cases are plagiarism. In most cases, uh, in most of the cases, 99% cases, if you are just copying down word by word, because your plagiarism check software itself will show you that there is a similarity in the words and the sentences. Okay, then you cannot forward. You cannot forward your work to the publisher. Okay. So the extracted passage can be clearly differentiated from the author's work. So whatever passages you have extracted from others' work, it should be clearly differentiated, okay, from the author's work by the use of indentation, okay, or quotation marks. So there is one way of, putting this work as it is in the scientific literature is to quote and quote. You start the quote and you end the quote, right? And say that this has been, written in this particular paper, and you are citing it. So there is nothing wrong in that. Okay, this is not called as an act of plagiarism. So this is a method in which you can also take up word by word the work of others, or the lines from other, not the entire paper, but maybe some paragraph, some 3-4 sentences, or maybe one sentence. Okay, and you are quoting them. Okay, quote unquote. Okay, if you are putting this in words, then it is not called as a act of plagiarism. and you can avoid, you know, case of plagiarism. Comprehensive citation. Okay. So we'll use the term comprehensive citation to describe a single representative citation in the beginning or at the end of the passage instead of including individual citations. Okay. So sometimes what happens that comprehensive citation means what? Say for example, a paragraph is written down. Okay. And let's say this particular work, okay, which you are describing is coming from many literature, some 3-4 this thing, 3-4 publications. And what are you doing then? After completion of this particular paragraph, you are putting a citations, you know, of all those publications without differentiating which one has done what. Okay. So this is called as a comprehensive citation. So technically to form the, so this is technically a form of plagiarism because similar to the above example of inappropriate passage citations, readers cannot differentiate between the extracted passage and the author's own work. Each part of the original passage must be individually cited. So what does it mean? It means that each part of the original passage must be individually cited. So whatever sentences you are writing down, you know, so they should be properly cited, right? This is the meaning of this. So plagiarism of data. Data plagiarism is the most common thing. But data means images, tables, figures, etc., etc., and also this falls under the act of data fabrication. Okay, because the researcher has not produced the data himself to experiment. So the researcher has not carried out any experiment in house in the laboratory, and he has just taken the data from outside. Okay, and and this is called as a fabrication. So the plagiarism of data is called as the act of plagiarism. Okay. Similarly, the reusing researchers' own previously published data irrelevant to the current topic cannot be exactly viewed as plagiarism. Okay. Similarly, reusing the researcher's own previously published data irrelevant to the current topic cannot be exactly viewed as plagiarism, but is nevertheless an act of data fabrication. So here it is clearly differentiated. What is an act of data fabrication and what is the act of plagiarism? So that means what has been done here, the previous work which has been carried out, which is irrelevant here, okay, but you have cited here, right? So this is called as a fabrication, but not called as a plagiarism. So nobody will sue because it is irrelevant to your work. So these are some lines which you can please read out, and you will remember these lines for your research work. So it is something like mm, this particular act needs to be seriously taken up, and this act is being practiced by many researchers. Some people they do it knowingly, some people they do unknowingly. Okay, and every part of your research work, this is important. And if you are legally doing proper things, then it will enhance your career and your reputation will increase. Okay? But if there is an accusation, so sometimes what happens that if you are practiced with, let's say, plagiarism, you have become an expert, you are trying to run out of plagiarism, infringement, let's say, and you become very strategic and you become very intelligent. You have put your brain into avoiding, escaping from the plagiarism. But sometimes what happens, if you are normally getting familiar with this, copying down some others' work, rephrasing it appropriately, inappropriately, whatever, and not bothering about it and publishing it. So if the publication house doesn't notice it, and it is also escaped from the publication house, and it is published, this paper is published. Okay, your work is published. But later on, after some time, people found that this is an act of plagiarism and it fits into rules and regulations. So suddenly the media will become aware with this. They will put you onto bars. And that means you are, you know, uh, highlighted. You are being highlighted by media, etc., etc. Your own organization, etc. And so, as a kind of, people will assume you that you are guilty into this, and you have done something very bad. Okay. So, and then therefore it becomes plagiarism is a sin. Okay, if it is severe action may be taken and or legal notice may be given. So, if somebody has been given a legal notice, okay, then it is a very dangerous thing. It is like a like somebody else is. It's like a thief, academic thief. Okay, so it is stamped like an academic thief. Okay, society will isolate from you, and so many things will happen. Embarrassment will happen. Okay, so that's why should be very cautious about plagiarism. This is what I mean to say. And there is no guarantee that the original content of your manuscript might not be copied, okay, and sold to others before it is published by you. Okay, there is no guarantee that the original content of your manuscript might not be copied and sold to others before it is published by you. I discourage using any free software checkers for plagiarism. Some of them are betrayal. So that means free software. Please don't do your plagiarism check through free software. Free, and there are some open source software also. People say that it's open source software. You can use them freely. But what happens once you use these softwares, your data will be stolen by these people sometimes. Okay, without you being noticed. Okay, this is one thing. And before your publication happens, their publication will come up. This also has happened several times. Okay, so that's why you have to pick up a very authenticated source to publish your original research work. Okay, and to check the plagiarism before you go for publishing, then please use some uh, good quality plagiarism check software. So there are many plagiarism checkers on Google, but it is important to distinguish between plagiarism, similarity, and copyright infringement checkers. So these are the three different things which I have explained you. So what every plagiarism check software will check the similarity, means word to word copy. Okay, because there is no other meaning to this. Because these softwares are not so intelligent to extract the meaning of the sentences, right? And if you are, let's say, copy down somebody else's idea, and they will say that it's not artificial intelligence that way. Okay, but all these softwares will give you similarity there, right? And copyright infringement checkers are also there, so you can also study them in advance. Free softwares are not giving accurate similarity index, and if you want to publish your article in any good journal, Scopus, etc., etc. So free softwares, don't use free softwares, at least for this sake. Okay, for some analysis purposes you can go for it. But for such important legal work which you are carrying out, so don't do it on a free software. This is our suggestion. So this is the first software which we have identified, which is worldwide accepted, and it is a web-based. Unkun is a web-based application, and that conducts server-side plagiarism detection. So this is also cloud server-based this thing, and it will do a server-side plagiarism detection. So you can also put your college server, put this software on a college server, and it will be used. The solution to detect plagiarism integrated and automated. So this software will give you plagiarism check. This is a paid service, and utilizes a standard email program to upload the documentation and display information. Okay, this program handles 300 separate types of submissions and checks all accessible online sources. So what happens, this uncount software, you have to, this is also being encouraged by UGC, right? Our UGC, University Grant Commission. And they have also provided, UGC has also provided the software to universities of India where they are government affiliated, where they are financing to purchase this uncount software for similarity checking. Uh, then there is another iThenticate. iThenticate, okay, is another version, right? And it will store 25,000 words, and it will check it out at one document. 25,000 words would be checked for similarity, right? And it is a professional software, and it's a fast plagiarism checker also, okay? And it is accepted. iThenticate. Okay. Turnitin is also another important software. So this is being available at SPIT and SPCE, and it is a very successful web-based tool. Detection and reporting is done remotely in this method, and around 15,000 universities and 30 million students are now approved, okay, and using the Turnitin. So it has got a very user-friendly design and brief repository and high robust plagiarism, etc. We'll have a glimpse of it. There is no software which check plagiarism. Only similarity level can be checked. Okay, so this is what I have already explained you. And I'll give you a Turnitin demo now. But before that, I would like to conclude on my presentation because the demo will be there for 15 minutes, and I'll end up this presentation with my conclusions, etc. etc. And the last part is the demo. So institutional remedies or solutions for mitigation of plagiarism. So at institution level, what needs to be done to mitigate this problem? So what we have to do? Intensify research integrity and scientific writing education. So what we have to do? Intensify research integrity and scientific writing education. So what we have to do? We have to train our researchers as an institution. We have to train our researchers, our students, how to write legally, with a proper authentication. What are the different rules and regulations for publication? You know, and which matters are serious and which matters are not so serious. Okay, how to give credit to others. Okay, so all these nitty gritties should be you know should be taught to the students and researchers. And this is a task of an institution or university, academic institution. A stepwise cumulative writing process. So you have to train the students or the researcher how to stepwise write. So initially you may not be so expert, fluent, in paraphrasing activity initially, but as you practice, you do systematic thing, you know and you start cumulatively, you start writing and checking it, writing down, checking it, etc., and you will learn the skill, right? So students should be trained on such type of stepwise writing process. Then there should be some honor codes, okay, floated by the institution. So we have to have our own research honor codes. For example, this SPC other college have form a ethics committee. Our college is also having an ethics committee. So this is that every college has a ethics committee, okay, or research ethics committee. So this committee should look at it, okay. This committee should form some honor codes of the institution, uh, and also making the students and researcher and the professors, the teachers and the supervisors aware with these honor codes. So what to do? Honor code means what to do in an academic world, in the publication world, what to do and what not to do. Which one is dangerous and which one is mild. Okay, so which one is acceptable, which one is not acceptable. That you must be trained on. Then active search for plagiarism is in all academic products, and a zero tolerance policy in response to the documented cases. So first, sometimes what happens if in your college or in your institution, if some case is arised, okay, so you must have a zero tolerance and you must take a administrative actions also on those people who found violating these things and got caught in this and say for example in our college, let's say some professor and some 3 4 students, they have they had some publication earlier and somebody has filed a case, and after filing a case, you have to fight the case, right? You have to argue your case. So after all arguments, the people have given a justice that this is really a plagiarism case of plagiarism. So there should be a zero tolerance policy of the institution, that either the student should be expelled out of this, and some harsh treatment, punishment, okay, should be provided by, so that people will understand that no, the college will not tolerate such type of activity, and in the future course of time also such type of activity will be avoided, because this is also spoiling the image of the institution, the present institution. And in conclusion, I would say that international norms are there for ethical publications. Okay, follow them, read them, study them. How to do the publication ethically, morally. Check similarity from professional software. So you can use Turnitin because you are all researcher from SPC, SPIT. So SPIT, we have subscribed that particular Turnitin software. So you can, learn this. Learning this software is not a short business. You have to properly learn it properly within short span of time. It cannot be explained, but you will have to, once you have to practice it, and then finally you have to start using it. Every now and then you can start using it because it's very handy to use because it is available on cloud. If you have a login password, upload your document and get the similarity index. Okay. First, this is a very easy task before you do any publication. Before you send any file, any PDF file or any doc file to any publisher. Okay, so you have to pass the similarity check. Do not allow your article. So rework on your literature until similarity index goes below 10%. So 10% is a good amount of figure. So in almost all the conferences, this figure 10% similarity is allowed. Okay, because you cannot eliminate 100% similarity. So 10% is allowed in many technical conferences and in many journals also. Okay, but once it exceeds 10%, okay, then there is a matter of concern, right? So you have to start rewriting the literature, and until it's basically trial and error approach, or let's say back and forth approach. Okay, and then once again you write it and pass the similarity test. Do not allow your article to be stored in database archives of plagiarism software. So you don't have to allow your article to be stored in database archives of plagiarism software. So what happens when you are um, using a Turnitin software? Let's say it's an international software. It has got an international database. It is a worldwide database. And if you are allowing, yeah, there are some settings in the plagiarism software. Okay, plagiarism check software. There are some settings. These settings, you know, will be properly selected, properly done. Okay, so that your text which is being tested for a plagiarism should not be, stored in their archives. Okay, should not be a part of their archival of their database. If it becomes a part of archival, every time if you are using these words, and although it's not being published anywhere, this work has not been published anywhere, but somehow you have missed the proper settings of the software, and it has gone to your database of the software, Turnitin software, or plagiarism check software. So what happens the next time when you are using this, this will be caught up and shown falsely, okay, as a plagiarized material. Okay, so then later on, it so happened that it may not be, published anywhere. So this kind of scenario had happened when we started one conference in 21, ICC ICT 2021. So that time I had such problem. So some of the papers were mistakenly, being um, being got, or they got stored in the archival database, and the setting were not proper, appropriate, and gone into the database. But later on we found that the particular work has not been published anywhere, and it is really a original work. So then we have written down to the Turnitin people, and we required around 1 to 2 months, 2 months time, to remove from their database. Okay, otherwise it will be a serious affair, and unnecessarily, it is also embarrassment to you. Do not allow your article to be stored in database, and enjoy mind-free and happy publication to be acknowledged and cited respectfully in the society. So what are you doing? You are not only completing your research work for getting some degree in the society, getting the respect in the society, okay, and um, you are publishing the material uh, which is plagiarism free. So this gives you immense satisfaction of your work. Okay, so you will always feel that my work is a original work which has been published. Okay, and I am free of mind. I have no fear because I have not copied down from anywhere. So I have no fear of myself, my earlier task, my publication. I don't have any fear. So it's a fearless task. So enjoy mind free, happy publication, and to be acknowledged and cited respectively in the society. So this is my concluding remark. I'll just show you one case of how the plagiarism check software would look like, and what are the results which are obtained. Say, for example, I'll tell you, because you probably in a short span of time will have to write a synopsis for your title approval, and in that context, I'll tell you a few things. Say one example, one case study. My student has written down some proposal. Let's say, so this is the proposal which I'll show you on the screen. So this proposal has been, you know, originally submitted by my student. Just wait 2 minutes. So this is the original, this is a synopsis which you can look at it, okay, of my PhD student, right? So now this particular text, right? So as a supervisor, I read everything. Okay, I read everything, whatever she has, written down. But later on, okay, because I cannot go and check each and every, references who were here, okay, and where from it is copied down. Okay, I cannot check. So these are so many references. Okay, it's highly practically impossible, you know, to check where from the similarity comes, right? So then what we have done, we have passed this document on it to a plagiarism check software. Okay, and then we found that, just a minute. So we have passed through the same document, we have passed through as a PDF file. Okay. So this was the material. So this is called as a similarity. Once the article is passed, you know, you will find that these are same diagram, etc., and algorithm, etc. And we have passed this document initially through plagiarism check software. So it has given me a report. So what report consists of 27% similarity index. Out of the 27%, 12% has come from the internet source, 29% has come from the publications, and 10% has come from student papers. Okay. So here we found that this is, not acceptable. 27% is not acceptable. Okay. Then what has been given? So see here, you can also find from which the majority of the portion is copied down. Okay. So this is one reference. Let's say this is one reference where 5% portion is copied down. This is another portion. Let's say this is another publication where 3% is copied down. This is another paper, 3% is copied down. Okay. So similarly, everything is given to you. Not only that, which portion is to be copied down is also highlighted by the plagiarism check software. That also I'll show you. So these are the, highlighted something like this, because the color is being given to each references. Okay. Say for example, if you look at it, so here different colors are allocated to different references or the sources of publication. Okay, different colors are given, and these colors will also appear in the main text after plagiarism check software. So after getting the report from plagiarism check software, that means this will also help you, okay, in finding out where the similarity is more. Okay, and then you can rework on this. So what I have done, I have tell my student that, your work is highly plagiarized, 27% is not accepted, so you have to bring down to 10%. Okay, and resubmit the same synopsis. Okay, then what she has done, she has written down the same rewritten. Okay? I'll tell you, and she has brought down this similarity index to 2%. Okay, the same text which has been, you know which has been the same text which has been submitted there has been rewritten appropriately. I already told you, paraphrasing is very important here. So there, here you will find some texts are similar, but they are only within 2%. Okay, so most of the work is rewritten. Okay, so the question is whether we have covered most of the ideas of others here. The answer is yes. Okay, but we have not copied down as it is verbatim. So what we have done, we have rephrased the work, because What is synopsis? Synopsis is a proposal which is being sent that my PhD during my PhD work, the student needs to submit a synopsis, okay, for title approval. So you have to state that during my PhD work, I am going to work on so and so topic, and this is this is the relevance of your topic or the importance of the topic, and it should actually consist of only literature survey. Okay, your ideas would be much smaller because you have not developed your ideas properly, but the broader topic is decided. So that's why what are you doing? You are carrying out literature survey, and there is high possibility that in the literature survey some people may copy down the text as it is from the original work. So please avoid this. Start right, developing a skill how to rephrase it properly, how to summarize it properly, okay, and how to rewrite so that you are not being caught up in the plagiarism check software the way in which my student has done. So finally she got the result from the plagiarism check software to 2%. Okay, so then I was very happy that so if my and this is also accepted everywhere. So you have to, in the university also, you have to submit this report. This is mandatory in the our own university, Mumbai University. Okay, if you are bringing down your similarity index to 10%, below 10%, then your work would be accepted, right? So this is all about copyright and plagiarism. So I really thankful to the host and people who are organizing this, and I really thank all of you, you know, to okay, and I would say all the best for your plagiarism free publication journey. Okay, thank you. And these are my today's references.
Thank you, sir. Participants, any question?
Yeah, I'll just do it. I'll just a minute. Give me 2 minutes time. So I have stopped presenting. Okay, Govind sir, I have stopped presenting,
Yes, okay.
and my presentation is over. If somebody is somebody is having any question, in fact, there was no time left out for question and answer. But we can take up some question. You can write an email also. You are in-house people, so you can write an email also to me if you have got any doubt on this. And for demonstration of plagiarism check software, Govind sir will have separate, 1 hour session sometime when you will be allowing me to, you know, to do this. But in this session, it was not possible.
Definitely. Let them register first on committee.
Let them register for plagiarism check software. See, there is a plagiarism, there is a website, Turnitin. In that, you have to log in and password. You have to get a login and password. This you can get from the librarian of SPIT, because librarian has to register your name. Your domain email is required, right? spit.ac.in domain email is required. Okay, and once you do that, once you do the registration, then you can do it. So that time I'll explain you in 1 or 2 session how to do it, and we'll also give you some assignment to perform, right? Thank you.
Uh,
Sir aleka dusre sir.
Karandikar sir आले.
So shall I leave now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Welcome, Karandikar sir. Sir, am I audible? Yes, sir. Karandikar, sir. Karandikar, sir. Am I audible?
Hello, Haldankar.
हाँ सर.
Hello,
हाँ सर. Hello.
Haldankar.
हाँ, yes, Rao sir. हाँ.
Karandikar sir is online.
Yes, yes,
Actually,
sir.
I'm in the meeting. You take
Yes,
care
yes.
of the session.
Okay, okay, I will. I think mic problem.
Hello, is I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are audible.
That is what I was asking actually. Now I am audible, na
Okay.
completely.
Now it is audible.
Okay.
So first I will introduce you first.
Yes, sir.
So welcome, Dr. R.G. Karandikar, sir. He is working since May 1990 in KJ Somaiya Engineering College. Presently, he is a faculty in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering and Dean Academics. He graduated from VJTI and his post-graduation and PhD in electrical engineering from IIT. He has 2 years industrial experience and more than 2 decades experience in the teaching field. He has authored books for undergraduate engineering students and has published papers in international and national journals and conferences. His research interest is information and communication systems. He has rich experience of administration of academic and co-curricular activities in the institute. Definitely, he provide valuable insights. The topic, today's topic, that is protocols to be followed during technical writing. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Yes.
I think your hand is raised.
Now I am clearly audible, na sir? Clearly
Your
audible. Na?
hand is raised. By mistake,
Absolutely clear. Okay, okay.
uh,
So today's topic is actually, protocols. What should be used or seen while writing a paper, okay, or a thesis writing, or a project writing, or whatever it may be. Okay. Basically, aim of this discussion or the seminar is to make you aware what are the different compartments. Let us say first publication, okay, and what is the meaning or philosophy behind that. And once you know the philosophy, you will understand the protocol. Okay, that is the actually logic behind this discussion. Abhi, if I say now publication, okay, now what happens? You know whether to finalize the title of publication at the beginning of work or at the end of the work. That is a what you can say discussion or a thought process which goes on among yourself or maybe with your guide or supervisor or whosoever is working with you. Basically, what I feel that the title, uh, virtually it can be, somewhat it can be finalized, but the final touch up you should give once you complete your work only. That is most advisable. And that is why, if you see, when you submit your topic approval, okay, basically it is a topic approval, not the, title or what you can say, title of the thesis. But sometimes or many times it happens that once the topic is approved, you are not allowed to change the topic. That is fine. So that is the rules and regulation of particular university or organization or whatever. But in general, the title should be finalized once you complete the work or you are about to complete. Okay, that but you can have a title in mind when you obviously you have to have title in mind when you start your work. Now, what title should give? Okay, and what should be the words used in the title? Basically, whatever words used in the title are going to be keyword in your whenever you write the keywords. Okay, at least one or two words from the title must appear in your keyword because when, as sir has already explained, you plagiarism and all. When you do Google search, your paper or your publication will be retrieved fast. Okay, because it is in your keywords are matching with your title as well as in the keywords given. The words are matching with your title and keywords given. Now, when I read the title, I should be able to see. Basically, if you see the research are we have globally three types of research we do: a literature, that is library research, or laboratory research, or field research. Research is also empirical or fundamental. Now, if the fundamental research is there, probably you will realize that the title or objective is very difficult to define because you keep on doing the work and ultimately you get some point where you feel that you have contributed. Okay, but apart from fundamental research, other type of research classifications you have as you are studying this RP, you must have learned different types of basically three categories and further categorization is done. In that case, what should be the title? The title should lead for those cases. Other than I will say fundamental. Let us say be very clear about it. That what can be your result? Okay, what can be your result tabulation, or what can be your graph, or what type of results you are going to get? See, suppose if I say that, let us say that I'm working on some fuel efficiency, thermal efficiency, or obviously nowadays engines have gone IC engines, mostly electric vehicles. But still, let us say take an example of that, and some improvement in thermal efficiency and some improvement in engine design I'm trying to do. Okay, in that case, obviously, when I write in a title that I want to, something I will do work related to thermal efficiency of engine, your results or tabulation has to target the thermal efficiency, whatever engine you are designing, or maybe in literature, some comparative study, and obviously discussion on whether you got how much increase in the efficiency and what are the reasons for that. So ultimately, what I want to say that your title should direct to the result, or the reader should know exactly what you have presented in your publication. Then the title once, see, this is also a key, what you can say, once you complete your PhD, or maybe to even today, you must be receiving some papers to review. So if I get the papers for review, I do first read the title. I will try to understand the title. I will read two, three times, and I will, imagine what for what this work is done. So I will try to imagine the objectives that the author must have said. Okay, even though they are written in the paper, just imagine it. Or I will try to see, immediately the result part of the paper. And when I see the result part of the paper, it has to link to the title, or if it is not linked, doesn't matter because there can be a fundamental research or different types of research you have, or probably the author might have forgotten that link, or the title is little bit more global defined. Fine, doesn't matter. But we try to, this is the first check. If the results and title is matching means corresponding objectives are reflected in your results, tabulation or graph or discussion, we can, go further to the introduction or the introduction part. So we are talking about publication right now. Then we will see thesis and then we will talk for our today's discussion. So when you say publication, now you will have what you will have is the introduction. Okay. Govind sir, I'm audible, na? I'm just asking in between. Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
So thank you. Then when the introduction we go, when we write the introduction, we have to follow some protocol. Means what? Actually, the first paragraph or first few lines of the introduction should be talk about in a very general term what is the work is going on in that domain, particular domain area. Okay. So, for example, let us take the same example. This is just extempore example came in mind. We can have various sets of examples possible. That I want to improve the thermal efficiency is a very general example which one can understand immediately. Thermal efficiency of the given IC. Then what is the going on? What work on the improvement of the thermal efficiency of IC right now? That we have to write as a sense from the literature review what you are done for that particular publication. Then the next paragraph, you have to write that what are different approaches are used for solving that problem or solving that aspect. Okay. Maybe few lines in the literature as on date. Okay. And now you have gone through the what you can say increase in thermal efficiency or I want to increase the thermal efficiency. There are various approaches presented in the literature. I know that in an introduction you have got a very small space. You may not be able to write all as methodology or approach used by the literature in the literature, but you can mention some of the which are most appealing or most relevant to your work or relevant to your proposed approach or methodology. So second paragraph basically discusses about what approaches or methodology are being used to solve the problem. And then you can have a general observation after literature review which leads to your objective that this is something a research gap or this is the gap which one has to address. Okay. And the next paragraph, you can write about your approach and methodology and give the hint about your objectives for what you have done this work or what you are going to present in your paper. Okay. So basically, don't write, obviously, there should be no numbers or any figures, obviously equations and graph or any figure that is ruled out, but still don't directly write introduction, your results. I can get efficiency up to this point and discuss about the why you could get it or why you could not get it, something like that. No need to do that. You can discuss this very much in your conclusion part. Okay. So the first protocol or the link or the what you can say standardization, we have seen that it is better to have the title of the publication and link to the results which you are presented in the publication. Just see, this is necessary, but again I'm telling you, I will not repeat again now, that it will change from the type of work you are doing, but in general I'm talking about that introduction. Definitely first paragraph what literature is talking about, what literature has used the methodology or approach, and the third what you have presented your methodology approach and a slight hint about your objective. Don't write directly objectives as a statement there, avoid it, but definitely the reader will get some hint or some clear idea about the objectives which you're targeted in your paper. The keywords I said very clearly. There has to be at least one or two, minimum two. There's no measurement tape, but few keywords in your title. No, sorry, few words in the title should appear as a keyword. You can arrange your keyword alphabetically order, and some other few keywords which will come in your literature methodology or approach, or a domain area, or the very pointed what you can say work definition what you have done. And the keyword maybe 4 or 5 words you can list, and the last word has to be listed as and. That is advisable. Okay. Then what you will have the some sort of in literature review. The introduction normally sometimes in some paper format extends with the literature review in the introduction itself, most of the papers. Okay. So you can have the literature review done with proper references and with proper serial order, chronological order. Need not be the year wise, but the chronological order, how they are appearing in your publication. You have to discuss. As Sawant sir has given very nice presentation, and one example of plagiarism, that normally when I want to do, I write the literature review at the end, or introduction part, or maybe the next part of the my publication after introduction, that I just open that paper PDF and we try to copy paste. But actually, I was listening to him very carefully, and he very nicely said, and how he has his student has eliminated those aspects. The first point is I feel like that why we should use the word cut paste and why should we practice the cut paste. Okay, read it and write in your own language, and 100% sure the plagiarism level will go down automatically. Okay, and I'll 100% sure that you even no need to go for plagiarism. You yourself will feel confident that I have not copy pasted. Okay, so plagiarism comes only because of the copy paste only, because the English, what you can say, grammatical as well as everything comes same as what is available in the literature. Okay, and once you copy paste, even if you change here and there, that becomes artificial, and still the plagiarism level remains same. Instead of that, read it completely. Try to think in mind what you have understood about that, and then put in the paper. Okay. So one by one, all references, but this introduction and or what you can say literature review in the thesis. In the publication, we have got very limitation. We have hardly one line, to write about any references, but or the literature review what I'm doing. But in the thesis, you have got more space available. You can write 3 4 lines for one references, or you can further elaborate. No problem. But these references, when you write it in publications, you have to be very, what you can say, meaningful line. You have to find out what the authors have done for particular publication, which you are referring as a reference, or claiming as a reference, or giving as a citation. Correct? Now, the most important here is that it should be written as a theme. It should be written as a essay. It should be written as some what you can say एक कहानी जैसा. Okay, this this is done, this is done, this is done, this they have addressed, something like that. You have to properly use the word address or given or presented, something like that. And ultimately, this whole write-up of your literature review, maybe 10 or 12 references for a publication. There are very good number of references. You don't need to have 20 25 references, not at all. Okay, so 5 10 references you have given, and you have to develop it as a story. And in the story should lead in such a way that they have done the work, they have achieved the results. But when I studied their results, when I studied their paper, when I studied their methodology, when I saw their assumptions, because I'm going to come to the assumptions in the next part of discussion before we go to the next part of our publication. What you have to do that you slowly you take the reader towards your objective. That means normally in normal language, the people talk about that, find the literature gap. Okay, try to find the literature gap or research gap, what can be done or what will lead us to define our objectives. Okay. So like that, you develop your references and citations, whatever or citations you are given, like a theme, and ultimately you come to your objective. Okay. Now in a paper we don't write objectives mostly, actually, that 1, 2, 3, 4 normally. Okay. But in a thesis we can write 1, 2, 3, or in a point format. Now, most important, when you are setting your objective, there has to be a justification, because in the literature already the thermal efficiency is improved by the authors, correct? They have worked on that, they have implemented, being practiced. Then what else exactly you are doing? So that literature gap, for that justification, mostly it comes from the new innovative idea, or mostly you overcome the assumptions made by the authors, which your authors publication, which you are using as a citation in your paper. Okay, so look at the what you can say, publication when you read, not publication, the citations when you read, to refer them in your introduction. Look at it from that, whether you can target any assumption done, maybe some data set, or maybe some weather conditions, or maybe some material specific assumptions may be there. Many things can come. Okay, what we have to, there is an assumption that there will not be any harmonics, or there can be a pre-processing done. Anything means variety of right from electronics to mechanical engineering. Any example you can take. So see that whether you are targeting that assumption and you are overcoming that assumption. Mostly this can happen. So when you read these citations or the references, see that whether you are targeting their assumptions or their approach or methodology, or the design aspect. Okay, many angles are there to target the same work done by the authors, or presented in the literature review. Okay, now when you target this in that direction, I'm sure that you will be able to present your objectives at the end of introduction, or maybe the next part of your introduction, depending upon whatever the format or template of the publication you have, correct? And in that case, you will write your objectives, maybe 1 or 2 objectives you will target. In the publications, normally it's very difficult to target 4, 5 objectives, or normally we don't target. I'm talking about a very, what you can say, different, what you can say, common literature review or common publications we read. Remember, if you are doing some fundamental research, this is mainly applied research. The concept may be different or will be different, but I leave it. I will not discuss that aspect as on in our discussion. We are talking about mainly applied research. Okay, so because otherwise one cannot stamp that this has to be the what you can say, protocol or the standardization of writing any publication. Now once you write your objectives, maybe in a publication 1 or 2 objectives you will write, and you will explain them how you will achieve it with the methodology, okay, or approach. Okay, so remember, any work we do, we define our work, we define our objective, and then definitely we think on approach or the methodology to do that work. Okay, and it should be achievable, then only we take up the work. Okay, suppose if I think of doing some work at home and having cost of, or require the laboratories, okay, where I don't have. So achievable is very important. So I try to think of some approach or methodology, and the facility is not available in our institute, or very far off, or very difficult to get that facility. Then this achievable word will not be satisfied. So basically, I want to do the work, and obviously I have to see that it is achievable. Obviously, for achievable, there are so many factors are there. My limitation, facility, money, time, okay, for what you are doing, etc., etc. So many things are there. You may be doing some project and writing some objective for project. Probably your whatever whoever sponsored or given money for that project, you have to go along with those sponsors or that organization or what you are committed to the DST or any project funding agency. We have to target that. So these are all things you have to take into account when you define your objectives. In general, applied research, if I talk about, the objective should be achievable 100%, and that should link to the research gap, what you found out of your literature. And this is a very systematic way one can do. In the same domain area, you can do many research, many searches for the research paper references. You can write introduction or the literature review, many such reviews in same domain area, but the methodology or approach will keep on changing. Okay, so I'm not saying that you write hundreds or hundred, do 100 times literature review and write 100 objectives and then think of methodology approach and then find out which is the best suitable to you. No, this is what when you read the papers, this thought process should be in the mind. Okay, obviously you will save all the papers in one particular folder. Maybe one or two literature review may fail because you are not getting the research gap which is achievable or which likes to you, which is approved by your guide, etc., etc. Okay, so that has to be finalized. So basically, we are not targeting initial time the target and the abstract or the initial part of the introduction, but that is why we work basically on the literature review first before doing any work. Okay, and that is so this is the most important aspect in your work because that will define your the width, height, anything, volume of your work. Okay, possibility of completing the work, a possibility of getting some 1% research in that work, everything achievable, approachable, consistency, reliability. So many things are there because I will produce the result, but they are produced once only, even only I can do. So I'm coming to the next point is the motivation. Okay. So when this you write the objectives, the consistency or what you can say, whatever hypothesis you are defined, okay, to test your what you can say, whatever work you are did, work you are done, you have to see that the user there has to be some usability. Okay, it should not be reflected only in your laboratory and only for you and you got the degree or you got the project. No, the usability. So motivation is always a soul's social reference, correct? And see that your objectives are based on some motivation. You may fail that motivation that this will benefit to the automobile industry and the users of the car because their petrol consumption and this petrol consumption is reduced, then it will lead to the reduction in emission level, etc., etc., etc. So you can target that emission level, or you can say cost cutting to the user, or you can say cost reduction of the vehicle itself by the manufacturer, or you can say one of the feature in the vehicle which will lead more sale of your vehicle, etc., etc. So this is what remember that this is your motivation. Okay, and your results will lead to that. In a result, if you are not doing any cost analysis, recently, one of my colleague was having some, submission of was having some, going, have done some work, and I was involved, assessment of that, and they are now supposed to submit their thesis, but they have not done anything cost absolutely analysis or it is meaningful. So if I say that reduction, so that should not be part of your thesis or publication, whatever it means. So if you are not going to reduce ultimately the cost to the consumer, but still you are improving the thermal efficiency, but thermal efficiency will increase the life of the engine also. So I'm just exploring the same idea with different angles. So what you want to stress upon the social aspect for your work that you have to target. And if you are saying that it will reduce the cost, it is expected that some cost analysis is given, or if it is not given, you should be ready for logical question how it will lead to cost analysis because you have mentioned your motivation. So you have to give proper answer to that, not only just single line or what you can say answer question type. Okay, if efficiency is increased, obviously the cost will reduce. No, not that sort of answer is expected. There has to be what you can say some detailed study should be there, otherwise don't talk about the cost as a social aspect or in your motivation. So at the introduction end or at the literature review for your paper we are talking about, so you will write your literature review like theme, like a story. If you follow this protocol, definitely the reader will be very happy to read your objectives, which are ultimately aiming to some social benefit. That is your motivation. So motivation are of different types. Okay, I want to publish the paper. That is why I am doing the work. I will get some money, or I am completing some project. I will get promotion. I will get degree, etc., etc. Whatever may be other motivation, but ultimate motivation has to be for others use, for social purpose. Okay, so we have to mention that in a proper language, and this has to lead to your objective. Okay. So the next part of your what you can say publication is normally your theoretical background developed or designed. If you are working on some you are designing again, or block diagram or some circuits, or many things can be there there depending upon what type of publication or what type of paper you are writing. Okay, domain area, it will depend upon domain area. So explain that theoretical background or properly. Okay, and then explain about the methodology to solve the problem. Okay, now obviously nowadays methodology is simulation, and there itself your publication ends. But simulation, that is why I said literature, library, then experimental and field. So whether you are done experimental means what? Experimental means what? Basically, it is simulation nowadays. But apart from simulation, whether you have actually built the system, and the third part, whether you have gone to the field, or whether you have allowed user to use it, or whether it has been an integral part of particular system and tested, or as a what you can say whole prototype, whether you are developed or not, that will lead to your actually the field well. But prototype is again limited to laboratory or experimentation only. The field type research, you will find that applied research has to be a field type, but we have some limitations many times, and our research aims to our laboratory level only, and many times nowadays to stimulation or one particular, what you can say, algorithm we write or something like that. But that is not enough actually. You should have, proper justification in that case and validation of your results. Okay. So methodology and approach also depends upon, what validation what validation or justification the methodology will lead. Okay. That has to be, clearly understood by the researcher or the one who is doing the work. Okay. Now here, when you are doing the methodology, when you are finalizing particular approach or methodology, okay. So let us say not the simulation or laboratory, not like that. When you design, or what I can say that let us say that particularly nowadays AI and what you can say data, a lot of people are working, and you will find any presentation we see normally, or the thesis work or PhD thesis work or UG thesis work, they will say, I have collected, taken the online data, the data points are 10,000, out of that 2,000 will be training, something like that. Okay, all these are your assumptions, correct? And there are going to be a logical questions to that. If the assumption, if your training data is increased, or if I use the another data set, I'm just giving example for example. So when you do the work, define the work, you have to have a clear-cut thought process of all probable, or actually you have done the assumptions while defining your methodology or approach. Okay, so obviously it's a simple example. I want to reach office earlier. Okay, I can. What is my assumption that everyone should be, all the vehicles or whatever public transport I'm going to use should be in time, and there should not be any problem. So this assumption then only whatever I work I'm doing. So assumptions are should be clearly known, because you will find, just take it from me, when you see any presentation, normally the first question or the first thought process arises in your mind is relevant to assumption only. You don't think it as an assumption, but after this presentation, when you will listen to any other presentation, when your presentation is in, or when the presentation is going on, you will have first set of thought process on the question. And remember me, yes, Arey, yeah, this is related to assumption only. Okay, just check it. Okay, and these assumptions are mainly hidden in your literature because they are not specified. Okay, but uh, if they are not specified, you should be able to find out, and that is what the technical, what you can say, background you should have. A thorough understanding of your topic has to be there, and then only you will be able to get. Okay, so if I say that I have done this work like this, but there can be so many assumptions required to that work, a normal person will not understand. He will say, okay, okay, wow, wow, very good work done, or very nice work done. But the one who is, thorough in that domain area of the work, he will ask so many questions. Okay, why this is, something like that. Okay, so one has to be, very careful in the assumptions what you are doing. Okay, so there was a just 2 3 days back, someone made me that they have written a software in such a way that they can, process the applications for selecting for particular awards. I asked immediately the assumption. The question is related to assumption. So whether you have taken application in a PDF format, and whether that application contains the parameter which will decide the level, or yes or no, whether I want to be given, and if it is to be given some valuation. No, this is the assumption. Okay. What was their assumption? Yes, we will convert this PDF, in such a way that it will separate the parameters. So instead of a Google form asking 100 questions for each parameter, one application where you will get so many questions, and then split it, write some algorithm, and make it, split it and measure the parameters and do some valuation. But remember, again, my first question was related to assumption. Okay, so just check it, because if you have done the optimization study or some topics related to optimization, there are always constraints. So we define the problem. Okay, the problem defined can be either equal to sign or less than or more than. Okay, a simple optimization problem if you solve. And the second is the constraint, and that constraints are the assumptions. Okay, that is very important. Okay, so if I say that, okay, this much bandwidth will be okay for this application, this is my assumption. But if I don't know that this application re requires more than this bandwidth, okay, or more than this frequency range itself, my whole work is wrong, or it is misleading. The one who is, working in that domain area, he will ask, this much bandwidth, this will never work, this application, or this, IoT interlinked with the devices, it will not work, something like that. There can be a question. Okay. So remember that, but my assumption and my work, so I will present the work, but practical use may, because assumptions are artificial. Okay, or you're not understood, what you can say, the applicability of my work in a practical life. And if it is not there, that means my assumptions are artificial, and I can present that work only on paper. But when I go beyond the simulation for a laboratory work, or beyond that, a field work or field implementation, my work will fail. Okay, my methodology or approach will fail. So be careful on what methodology approach, and limit it. No problem. So you will ask me, sir, then should I cover all the assumptions which are required? No, no need, because that is impossible to complete any work. But be aware of assumption, and whichever important or most relevant assumptions to your methodology approach, which will satisfy your objectives, which ultimately satisfies the what you can say social benefit or motivation, which ultimately based on the research gap of the literature review, which ultimately link to my title of the work, which I am putting as a at the top of my publication. Okay? So these are interlinked to each other. Okay, like that it will happen. Now, once I do for approach and methodology, okay, obviously I will get some results. And once I get the results, for results, I will take 2, 3 aspects. Then quickly we will go through the thesis writing because most of the aspects we cover in the publication itself, and then we will end our presentation. Okay. Now, when you go for results, obviously, many people have a habit that they will present the table and below that there will be a graph. Okay, so table is plotted in a graph format in the Excel sheet. Don't give both the results. Okay, see that what you are presenting. Okay, if you want to present the non-linearity, increase and decrease, exponential nature, random nature, definitely the graphs are preferred than the table. Okay, clear? And if such aspect is not required, if then the table is most suggested. Okay. Now when you do the table, obviously table is a matrix, so rows are compared with the column. So if you are having some comparison table, definitely you should use properly which should be column and which should be rows. And if you are having tabulated results, ultimately what you have achieved as a best, or you feel that this is what for what I did the work. This is what the research gap was talking about, and this is what my objectives were leading. Okay, this is what I wanted. Color it. Okay, either bold it. Okay, something like that you have to do it. Okay, and if it is a graph, obviously you will get graph in a different colors and so on. Okay, but don't give both. Okay, because the reader gets confused. Very rarely you may require both, but 99% time you can choose one. Okay. Because reader will feel that ये tabulation भी result है और ये भी result है. Because ultimately when he sees the graph, he has to see the scale, and then from the table numbers he will find out scale आ गया हाँ ये table वाला ही है. Okay, and that wastes his time, and then he feels that irritating. Why the table is given and again the graph is given, and it is not the separate results are given. Okay, so be careful. Choose proper way of what you can say pictorial representation to more represent better way you represent your results. Okay, so many times what we do, we tabulate or put the graph and we just write some how we got the result on some lines and all that. No, you have to read the figure and you have to write the figure, write the details of the figure properly, and not the in an exam we write question answer for what you can say the block diagram input is given, then this goes to this, then this goes to this, then this goes to this, or a flow chart when we explain, or what we can say it is increasing and decreasing, something like that. That is seen, that is understood by reader. So please don't explain your results in that fashion. The nature it is varying. No, you have to explain why it is varying and justification for that. Okay, why it is linear, why it is non-linear, why it has become exponential. That you have to explain. Is
Hello,
I'm audible?
sir.
Is I'm audible? Is I'm
Yes, sir.
audible?
Now audible.
Actually,
Yes.
I got one phone call. I should have rejected it, but by mistake I accepted. Yeah, so I went down. Sorry.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Uh, uh, Is it going on properly and you are enjoying or
Yes, sir, we
no?
are listening.
Just I'm asking as a feedback. Listening, na? You are getting
Yes,
something.
yes,
That is
sir.
what is important. Okay, later. Yes. Then what we have come up to the what result. Then you will ask me. So when I read the results of publication, no, Sawant sir talk about plagiarism and all that. We can obviously, if it is copied from same paper, we will come to know. Or if the author doesn't understand that, they will write anything, okay? Or what you can say, they are not relevant to the figure. So result section should be basically the validation, the justification and validation of results, okay, written properly, and criticism to your result. Okay, why you got, why it is linear only if it is basically non-linear, and if it is a basically non-linear, why got your linear, or why the linearity is improved, okay, why the randomness is reduced. I'm just saying, okay. So I don't know, it depends, it depends upon what work you are doing and for what you are presenting your result, correct? Okay, so if you say the bandwidth is increased, but how you got it, why it is increased, and at the what cost? Assumption. It will lead to assumption. Or if it is not lead to assumption, that means what? You have not understood that justification and validation, that if the bandwidth is equal to mc square. So people write, this is one of the best efficiency or best accuracy I got. Very wrong. And if you use this word, that means you are not understood, or not able to interpret your result. So interpretation of result is very important by three ways. One, which graphical tool you will use first. Second, justification and validation of those results using with reference to your graphical tool, either tabulation or graphs or whatever you have. And the third, criticism to your results. This will highlight on your assumption. Okay, so you can say that a simple and just talking in a very fundamental or very what you can say low level what is a concept in electronics or telecom engineering, that gain bandwidth product remains constant. So if bandwidth is increased, gain is reduced. So whether is it a criticism for that? Yes, one of them. But these are a lot logical and proved criticism. Correct? You have to criticize your results in such a way based on your, your limitations. Okay. So you can say that I have tested for one set of data where the data was having this particular features, correct? But I didn't try it has to be tested for different type of data or a data having different features, and whether your algorithm or whatever you have proposed will work or not. Okay. So there has to be, some alarming criticism points to your results, which will lead to your conclusion. Okay. So if we see again a revision in 1 minute for a publication, the title for applied research preferably or better that because I'm not so great that yes this has to be there, but I'm suggesting your title should match or link to your results. Very first, when publication for review comes, I match title to results. Okay, then title should match to your introduction. Introduction first part, the literature review. Second part, the methodology used in literature. Third part, what you have done and what you are trying to do. Some highlight to your objectives, correct? Then you will do the literature review for 5-10 publications. I'm just giving as an example, and put them in a theme or like a story which will lead to your narrow-minded objectives or the research gap you identified out of literature review, which is achievable. This is very important, okay, and which will lead to some social aspect that you did. Then you discuss about some, theoretical background of your domain area if required, or depending upon what work you are doing. And then you have explained about your approach or the methodology. And every approach and methodology will have some assumption. There are going to be some assumptions in literature. And basically, when you find some research gap, many times you will leave that, we have learned that it will lead to the different sets of assumptions. Okay. And then present your result. For presenting your result, you should have for hello, hello.
Yes, yes. आपको कितना आवाज
For
है?
presenting for presenting your results, you have three aspects. Pictorial representation क्या होना चाहिए?
आपल्याला समजेल असं वाटतं.
समजेल हा म्हणजे कसं आहे की
अनम्यूट करा जरा कोणीतरी.
डिपेंड करायचं
अनम्यूट करा. अनम्यूट
की
कोणतरी
आपल्याला
बोलताय. अनम्यूट करा.
समजून घ्यायचं
प्लीज अनम्यूट युअर सेल्फ.
तर आपण
Somebody
कसं
stop.
करावं
महेश कुद्रे.
तुम्हाला तुमचं निघायचं ना तुम्ही.
मी चालली
बॅक घेऊन.
चलो.
हा बाय.
हॅलो.
विल डिस्कस टुमॉरो. थँक्यू. तुमचा एक ग्रुप ऍड करायचा, एक ग्रुप जॉईन करायचा आहे पेपर प्रेझेंटेशन साठी.
कोणीतरी
तुम्हाला
प्लीज अनम्यूट करा. प्लीज अनम्यूट करा.
एका ग्रुप
कुत्रे सर प्लीज अनम्यूट.
अरे मग मला घ्यायचं होतं ना
कुत्रे
तुम्ही
सर
लाईन मध्ये
Please
तो होते.
I think the
admin can mute that participant.
Govind
गोविंद
sir.
sir.
पाचचा ग्रुप बंद
कुत्रे सरांना म्यूट करा.
मी हे राव सर आहेत. ओके हा.
Okay. Then select your results properly, interpret your result properly, okay, and justify and validate your result. That justification discussion has to be your result, not only the tabulation or the graph and just return some lines in lucid language. No, and then start criticizing your results. Just a hint for that, because in conclusion you are going to write what you have achieved. Obviously, I got increase in efficiency in this range in compared to literature, this, something like that you will claim in your conclusion first part, but definitely at the end of the conclusion, you will try to criticize or your limitations. This we could not do. Okay, this can be done, something like that. That is a criticism. If I say I would have done this, that means that means I have not done. That means I am criticizing. Okay, so basically you be a critic to your own work when you conclude, and that is very important because that gives you a thorough understanding about your work. So if somebody does the put the critical remarks, you will not feel anything about it, because you know that yes what you are saying is correct. I also thought in the same fashion, and but these are the limitations in my work. Obviously there is a room for future or further work. Okay, now there is a concept of future and further work. When you are presenting your seminars in between your work or intermediate seminars, it will be a further work. And if you are concluding and submitting the thesis, you can say it as a further scope or future work. Okay, that is what is important. But further work or further scope word may use karo. Scope will be the thesis submission. But further work and future work. So further work in between and future work at the end. And future work will lead to the criticism to the conclusion. Okay. So remember that you only will criticize your work, you only will criticize your methodology, you only will criticize your objectives, you only will criticize your research gap found out of the literature review, you only will criticize your assumptions, and you will open them now in your future work or further work. Yes, this can be done. Basically, I will talk about future work, where you can say that this can be addressed in this way or different fashion. This the work is not completed and the work is never completed. There is always a room for further innovation, and one can work on the same area, same domain area again and again, and new findings will come, and this is never ending. Okay. Now, as far as the thesis is concerned, everything you have abstract, which is your introduction in your paper. So abstract also the same guidelines are there, and then you have got the introduction, where at the end of introduction you will write objectives and all that what I discuss about publication, but organization of thesis has to be there. So reader will read your thesis also. When we review, we also review the thesis this way only. I read first title and I go directly to the results, whether they are linked. Then if there are some mismatch, or I will check it whether it is leading to abstract, the last paragraph and first two paragraphs is my thought process, what you have done or what you are trying to set your objectives, and again the research, or in introduction your literature review as well as the objectives written and the results, and obviously at the end of the literature review or the introduction chapter you should have the organizer thesis, so that I will come to know how you open the cards, for your work. Okay, how you have developed a new design, how you have developed new concept, or how you have tried to think of some hybrid model, something, etc. And then you have used particular software, particular technology, particular approach, particular methodology. There are so many standard what you can say algorithms available, or approaches or methodology available in literature, correct? So that way you will go further, and then in thesis also you will write the thesis. How you will write the thesis? Okay, this will be combination of all your publication or patents you have filed. Okay, and you have to put them in hierarchical, proper hierarchy. Whichever you feel better, the reader will understand in a better way. Okay, it is not hard and fast rule that last publication has to be last only, or first publication has to be last only, something like that. No, normally it happens that our first publication is our preliminary work and go on and subwork. But sometimes some publication comes late, and we in between we do another publication which is conference or which is faster. So in such case, chronology of publication will miss out, and you will refer the chapter. Some chapter will refer to the third paper instead of second paper, and second paper probably will be the after that. Depends. I'm just saying. Okay, there is no hard and fast rule, but see that the reader is properly guided, or properly his thought process, that every publication or whatever patents you have, you can have one chapter each, and you can present the result there itself. Okay, don't make a separate chapter for the results, combine of all three. Because what happens, the reader finds it very difficult to refer or have some references of your, third chapter, where you have given the results of objective one. Second, fourth chapter where the results are objective two, and fifth chapter where the results are of objective five, and you are discussing all these results together in your sixth chapter of results. Okay, instead of that, have a result section every at the end of the chapter, discuss in the same fashion pictorial proper representation, validation and justification, and some criticism which will lead to your approach, methodology, or definition of objective itself. Okay, and combine them in a one conclusion chapter, whatever you have in your thesis. And obviously the references we have already talked about, that they can be chronologically ordered, or they can be, what you can say, chronological order. There has to be chronological order in which you are talking in your literature review. Okay, that is most advisable. Now remember that many times what happens. This is my I have seen one of the thesis, very practical, that we download the paper, but terminologies are same. Okay, and we refer it, and then we realize that this paper presents something totally different, okay, than what we are talking about. It happens. Okay, sometimes it happens if depending upon obviously the domain area and what you are targeting. But remember that when you do if your reviewer is very critic, or your final thesis examiner is very critic, he will, he will, take it, fire in such a way that this reference is not at all relevant to you. Okay, so many times also there is a justification about it. Sir, no, sir, I just referred it. My main paper is 4, 5, 6 only. I just referred. Why you referred that? If they are not reviewing the work, it is not like that you have to increase the number of references and vajan nahi badhana hai. Okay, it doesn't mean that 25 references that is good research or good thesis, and 5, 6 references only not is a bad thesis. Sorry, nothing, not like that. Absolutely. Okay, because when you read the paper, the cross references of paper like that literature review is better one, instead of having individual. So in that case, cross references में आपके जो references है वो कम हो जाते हैं, because it will limit to that work only, whatever given in the paper. Okay, but if you go into general domain area and if you put to Google, then you will get so many references. Or if you refer to some link of any conference or journal subscription you have, and if you go search one, you will get many papers. But that is not the way research review should be done. It should be done with one basic paper, what you targeted, which is directly, targets your uh, pointed objectives, or you are thinking of the domain area, because literature review probably the objective may not be defined. So do that first. And if you go for cross references of the same author, probably your references will limit, and probably your references will become more authentic for given references. So you can have, 4 or 5 major references, and every references you can have some cross references about 2, 3. So that will read around 10, 15 references for your thesis. And maybe, normally what we say, a diploma student, if you see the diploma student doing the project, okay, he, our thought process is very low level area. And we say that, okay, aapne khud sikhana, khud banana, very good. Okay. Even though it is copied or whatever it may be. Okay. The UG project, what we say that there has to be some design aspect and some contribution on your own, instead of, even though, instead of just, what is that say, duplication. Okay. So some innovation we expect, or some approach, or some own work we expect from a PG, UG group, what is that say, project work, or maybe individual project work. Nowadays we have in a subject also a project work is there. PG, definitely we want at least 2 objectives, and at least, one of them, or 3 objectives, at least 2 of them, where you have got some innovative contribution, 1%, some. Okay. So something like that. And in PhD, definitely that innovation level we expect further. And there is no, measurement tape. And this PhD thesis is very good because there are 4 objectives, and this PhD thesis is very bad because they have written only 1 objective. Not like that. Okay. So one has to have the holistic approach when the reader does the reading of your thesis or the publication. With the holistic approach, he will be able to, get convinced that the work presented is innovative. Okay, objective steps are adding to the motivation and adding to the some social cause. Okay, and your methodology and approach are practicable and doable, and definitely you have understood what assumptions you have done to doing any work. Remember that I will come to conclusion only. Any work we do, we need to do the work with some assumptions. And we should have very clear-cut idea of our assumptions, and you will realize once you practice, assumptions with our limitations. Okay, always. Not individual limitations. Limitations in overall. Because we don't work always, we don't work only alone, the individual. We work in the society, we work in the laboratory, we work in the field, we work in the, some weather conditions, etc., etc., etc. Okay. So be careful about the assumptions, and you will be very happy and confident. If the assumptions idea is not there, then you will lose your confidence if someone questions. But if that are very concept, that is why we say, तुम्हारा concept clear है क्या? ऐसा पूछते हैं. पहला concept clear करो. इसका meaning यही है कि understand your assumptions, probable constraints in your work, okay, very properly and thoroughly, and then initiate your work and complete your work, present your work, and achieve whatever you want, okay. And lastly, references, and last part, the annexures or something like that. If there is a too long, it is unnecessary, discontinuing the continuation part of your work, okay, maybe in the paper or maybe in the thesis, it is always advisable to use the annexure aspect of thesis, where your thesis will be, proper reader will be very happy in one shot. When he reads it, he will understand what you have done and everything. What you can say, he will be very happy and he will understood what you have written. That is very important, because by publication of thesis is written, this is a very art where your reader is not in front of you. So you have to write in such a way that reader is in front of you, and if he reads, there should not be any question in his mind, minimum question. There are going to be questions which he will ask as an examiner or as a audience when you present your presentation of your work, PG thesis or PhD thesis, or I will say once you go to your career. Apart from teaching, I'm saying, but in teaching also nowadays we have a lot of presentation we have to do apart from our teaching learning. Your presentation will be more meaningful and you will stand very confident. And the last part, very simple question people ask, what you have done. And that what you have done, I'm not saying there is no again measurement tape that you should tell in one sentence or two sentences, but you are able to spell it out. After, if you can do it only with understanding, proper understanding of your work, then you can spell it out. अरे मैंने ये जो सब किया ये इसके लिए किया ये किया बस that's all. And this has to be very lucid language a layman can understand. And that is why we always say that once we complete the work, we start feeling the work is easy. Like once we go to 6th standard, we feel that 5th standard is very easy. Something like that. Okay. So before we do our work, we find that it is very difficult. Correct? So now you have done the work and you are standing. So are you going to talk about your 5th standard in a different way? No. Very properly, because you have understood what is 6th standard. Now you have 6th standard. So you have done the work, so you understood the work, what you have done. So if someone asks you what you have done, can you tell me, about the thesis, before starting your presentation? A question sometimes आता है. So you will find that the student talk maybe 10-15 minutes. No, that means what you haven't understood exactly, or you are not able to. I'm not saying you are not able to, communicate properly. So proper communication is art only. Okay, and this will lead to proper understanding what you are talking about. Okay, and control yourself whether you are too much talking or less talking, not explaining, and see the audience also where you are talking. Correct, and then you will be able to, present your work. And if you follow all these protocols, okay, these are, what you can say, will lead you a very, very good paper from reader's point of view, very good thesis from the examiner point of view, very good presentation or a document or the project report from the audience point of view of the agency where you are submitting. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk today. I thank to Dr. Rao, Govind sir and SPIT for giving me opportunity, and I hope that I'm able to add at least 1% with the audience or with the students, so that it will be useful for them in their thesis work or any further career. Okay, thank you, sir. I end my seminar or talk here. Thanks a lot. If any questions, but
Yes.
then otherwise, please.
Yes, any question? Sir, I have one question about the further work and future work. How
Yes.
much should be the gap? And we have to criticize our work only. So that gap.
So yes, once we criticize our work, we will come to know that this is remain, because I could not do it, correct? And
Okay.
the time span, the further work or future work, obviously, when we think of it, it has to be an immediate phase, okay? Not a very, after 10 generations or 5 generations,
Okay.
or not like that. Not like that. Okay? Or after 10 years or 15 years, no. The reader is not, that will be your old work. People will work the recent work, and they will only refer your work to understand. Okay, not doing any further future work. So what you ask a very logical question. It should target to immediate phase. Okay? That is very important. Okay. Anything else?
And once a topic gets selected, then after some time, suppose if we want to slightly modify, then is it possible?
It depends upon university to university. I will not name any university, but if the title is fixed, okay, as a topic approval you can, okay. But if the title is not fixed, like IIT, you submit at the end, not immediately, okay. The thesis title is finalized once you reach up to pre-synopsis, and I don't know what is the present process, okay. So we have to find out the process, particularly thesis writing I'm talking about, academic degree, okay. But in general, the title has to be fixed once at the beginning only, once you decide your objective. Yes. And if you say that can we change? If you are changing, that means what the first literature review itself you are not done targeting. And that is why I said 100 literature review. That was a very, suddenly it comes from out that I said that 100. Not 100, but you can do 2, 3 and find out the which are the best at achievable. Okay. Why you change? Because you start feeling it is not achievable. Okay. So that aspect, if you target before doing that, then I think your work and time will be saved. Okay. And efforts will be saved. Anything else?
Yes,
Hello.
any question?
I think.
Yes, participants, any question?
I think. Let's check it. Shall we leave the meeting?
Okay, thank you very much. Sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All the best to all the students. Okay. Bye. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, should we leave or we have a test? Haldankar sir?